Is Jack Frost, in the midst of this comedy, actually one of the most horrifying horror monsters that we've ever seen? Super strength. Imagine how many times water touches your body or goes into your body a day. And then imagine Jack Frost.
I'm gonna pause you there.
Friends, welcome back to the Messed Up Movies Podcast, a podcast celebrating movies and filmmakers that embrace the unhinged, the insane, the outrageous, the off-kilter, and the all-around kind of messed up fun you can't take your eyes off of. I'm your host, Griffey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and is he in a bathtub with another lady?
Ooh, Alex Dandino, that's right, folks. You can catch us on all your socials, whatever social you're on, we're on. We're very cool that way. Blue Sky,
Ice Cold, you
Friendster, might say? MySpace.
Did you just say Friendster and MySpace? Woo! Yeah, we're getting in a time machine. We realized we did not hit the social media boom early enough. We're going back.
Sorry, those aren't popular anymore. My fault.
Yeah. Misfit Parade.
Facebook.
Subscribe to the YouTube.
If you're in college, Facebook for sure.
If you're in college or a on the verge of boomer age like us, that's still a poppin' ass joint. Do kids still say poppin' ass joint? Yeah. The YouTube Misfit Parade. The website misfitparade.net. Go find that. Join our newsletter so you can join the parade. Check out our short film, Sugar Tits. If you're here to listen to Jack Frost, you probably would love Sugar Tits. What else do we have, Alex? We're busy guys. The Messed Up Movies Patreon. That's right. So now that we have readjusted the show, we are rebooting over there. You can still help us pick our Patreon exclusive episode every month. Help us curate stuff. We have mini-series, finishing Tales from the Crypt. The Creep tapes are done. We're starting Black Mirror in February. Ooh. So a great time to join the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon. All right, Alex, welcome to the new year, motherfucker. I believe this is January 1st. Happy New Year, man. It's been about...
Happy New Year, bud.
4 to 5 years in a row of us being like, maybe next year will be okay. And it just keeps not being okay. I'm going to say... Actually, no. I was just thinking about the news. All right, 2025 will probably also be a steaming pile of dog shit.
Yeah,
but you know what? In those moments, we must turn to the cinema. We must turn to our church of the cinema, get down on bended knee,
I agree,
and watch these messed up offerings from the universe, such as today's movie, Jack Frost. Alex, would you like to introduce which Jack Frost we're doing?
Okay, now... There's 3 Jack Frosts available for streaming that were made. One I've never seen in my entire life. The other one is I believe it's 1998 comedy family film starring Michael Keaton, Kelly Preston, and Joseph Cross. This is that story is about a young man cut down in his prime who God brings back as a snowman to complete some earthly duties before he's allowed to pass on. Sort of in the vein of It's a Wonderful Life, the way Griffey and I view it. However, today we are talking about 1997's Jack Frost, a direct-to-video black comedy slasher film directed by Michael Cooney. It stars
with a
Scott MacDonald
shockingly similar logline.
Yeah.
A man cut down in the prime of his youth comes back to finish his own earthly mission.
Imagine the way I described Michael Keaton Jack Frost.
Yeah.
But replace big band leader with serial killer. Go.
Yeah, if instead of, you die and God is playing the cruelest, God has the power to send you back, but he's like, no, I won't let you take over a body. Right? I'm going to put you in a fucking clump of snow that could melt literally any day that it gets a little too warm. I feel like winter ain't winter like it used to be. So, again, God being a fucking horrifying
this is 1997.
Michael Keaton.
This is 98. They don't believe in global warming yet.
Yeah, so one of the funnest things about this movie, right, was Jack Frost had this really cool VHS cover of the snowman with the fucking giant icicle fangs. And then if you go to the other Jack Frost, it's kind of this cherubic, baby-faced daddy, I guess, right? Michael Keaton plays this other. So one of the fun things about this was when it came out, people kept renting the wrong tape. So there were families that were renting their feel-good God Made My Dead Husband a Snowman movie and would get serial killer Jack Frost. And this movie would then people would want this hardcore comedy horror movie, and they would just watch what might actually be a scarier film of Michael Keaton trying to make sure his family's okay in this doughy snow body.
I mean, legitimately, I will say this is the best. Okay, the Michael Cooney Jack Frost. This is the one thing it has over. This is the one thing it has over that in terms of like what it's willing to offer people. At least it's on Front Street. It tells you exactly what kind of movie it is right away.
This movie never hides. It never thinks it's elevated. This movie is nonstop puns, self-commentary, goofball aesthetic. I'll tell you this. I can't imagine the amount of dads that their wife came home like, I got a feel-good Christian family tale for us about a fucking snowman created by God. He's just like, Jesus Christ, I work 40 hours a week. I bust my hump in the factory. He's slamming a Bud Light. And then all of a sudden the movie starts. He's like, is that a young Shannon Elizabeth? What's going on here? And that dad, there were some Midwestern dads that were pumped at the mistake.
Yeah, there were some Midwestern dads that were like, I hit the fucking jackpot here.
Yeah, I hit the Jack Frost spot.
This is actually this is the film debut of Shannon Elizabeth, by the way.
It was. That's kind of one of the like things that have become legend now, because Shannon Elizabeth, not long after this, went on to be the kind of breakout star of American Pie. So let's talk about Jack Frost. What is our obsession? I was thinking about this watching this movie, and I was like, what is the deal with human moving snowmen? For our friends over at Junk Food Cinema, I just joined Brian for a feature-length commentary on Hot Frosty. We have a lot of issues with people wanting to have sex with snowmen.
People really want to have sex with snowmen. Okay, Hot Frosty is... Look, I'm jealous you did the commentary about Hot Frosty because, to be honest with you, that movie is fucking hilarious and I would have died to be on that. But
it's one of those movies you're watching and you're like, if she doesn't bang this hot snowman, because he is a Hot Frosty. Let's not. I'm not playing coy. That guy,
he's hot as hell.
There's this weird area that movie exists where he's 2 days old and seems like he is either a baby or not mentally capable of giving consent. Mm-hmm. But also the movie's telling me that they're definitely going to have sex. And if I don't get to see that, I'm going to be in this weird moral, ethical gray zone of like, do I want this to happen the whole time while the worst comedy unfolds?
Whatever the obsession we all have with like humanoid snow people.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily like I'm gonna fuck that snowman, but more like that snowman has the capacity to fuck. We have like a real cultural obsession with the ability for like Frosty and Jack. Like Jack Frost is also like another mythological character all in and of itself. It's just a great name to like assign to a character a lot of the time.
It's a great serial killer name. Like if there's a real serial killer named Jack Frost, you're like, that is great marketing. That guy knew his brand.
Yeah, this guy knows his brand. Like, I think that, and, you know, like, okay, I'm sorry. I gotta get this out at the top. The intro to this movie, the opening credits, first off, that has to be the most expensive opening credits I've ever seen for a direct-to-DVD movie.
The ornament credits? I thought that was fantastic.
Oh, I know. I thought it was great. That's why I'm saying it has to be the most expensive part of the movie because, like, it's like all of these personalized ornaments moving from ornament to ornament, like on the tree.
Dude, you just have to go to any like Sunday crafts fair, dude. This intro cost $12. $12 and a prayer, dude. This was the easiest intro.
Okay, my question to you was, because I agree, like this is literally like a, oh my God, run to Menards right now. Like oh my God, you gotta
go. Is there a Hobby Lobby? Quick!
Oh my God. What are we going to do? Is there a Michael's nearby? Jesus Christ.
Get some bigger paints. It's a fucking Christmas characters. Let's go.
Okay. My question to you is, do you think there was another sequence they had in mind? And like, oh shit, I don't know what we're going to do now. Like, it was originally, because like they tell this story over the opening credits. It's like, do you think maybe originally they had shot this like unfilmable thing where they're like, oh, it's a dad telling a child a go to like bedtime story, and they're like, you know what, that's not going to play. Let's go to Hobby Lobby, grab like $30 worth of bulbs, and just write everyone's names on it.
I think it was actually the director and another person on the cast who just read that post haste. So it could be. It has this very like Dickensian Christmas tale thing it's reaching for, but then the performance is
Charles Dickens.
Like it's clearly an adult doing like one of those weird. Like you ever see those like anime guy streams where you're like, he's a little too into like the baby voice thing. It's like a fuck me voice, but like supposed to be as a child. And essentially this grandpa's like, she's like, I want a happy, scary story, right? And it's like, okay, they're telling us exactly what they want to do, a happy, scary movie. And he tells this tale about how Jack Frost just goes on this murderous rampage through all the states. And he's killed 38 people, right? And then they add this detail in that opening, which is incredible. It's like, and then the pies started. And I was like, what? Excuse me?
Like, whoa.
And they're like, he worked at a pie factory and started putting his human victims' bodies in all of the pies. So now we're just adding cannibalism. So people are just randomly getting like Marie calendars with like an ear in it. Whatever, you know? And it's insane. And I was thinking, I was like, wait, this is supposed to be a guy telling his daughter this story? Is this a kidnapper telling a hostage his story? It sets a really bizarre tone. It's just like Jack Frost. Like if you just take it at its surface, it's kind of like a gag. And then you think about it, you're like, oh, that's a lot fucking darker than I remembered.
Well, from what I like, so we get through the Hobby Lobby tree stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is going to reveal like a dad or like basically like a murderer, like reading a bedtime story to like his victims or something like that. Some weird sort of like, it's going to be some sort of strange. And then it just cuts to, you know,
driving in the snow, dude.
Two guys sitting on the same seat as they drive a truck.
Yeah, apparently the only one windshield wiper works. No, it is, but it's also one of those where it's like Jack Frost's supposed to get executed tonight. But that's just where the tale will begin. And I'm like, does this narrator, is he another mythical Christmas creature who has foresight into what's coming and is not helping anyone?
Is this Santa knowing exactly what's about to happen? He's like, well, he's been on the naughty list for a long time, so I wanted to see to it that he was.
Yeah, Santa's like, I just like a front row seat to watch naughty listers get murdered. But okay, let's start here. As much as we're kind of making fun of the kind of goofball chicanery that is Jack Frost, I do have to say, if you were taking Jack Frost and just kind of stacking his powers and him as a monster up against other horror movie monsters, Jack Frost is fucking horrifying. So essentially our inciting incident is he is in an execution armored vehicle, right? He is on his way to get murdered. For some reason, there's just a guard smoking right across from him where he can just reach him and kill him, right? So the armored truck, it's a snowy, mountainous road, right? Collides with a truck from some nondescript genetics corporation, right? They hit. Genetic acid gets sprayed all over Jack as he escapes. He melts away. Right? Pretty cool melting body effect. He lands in the snow. He's absorbed by the snow. Next thing you know, the snow's writhing. He is now a sentient pile of snow. Essentially, his powers in this movie are that of Iceman from the X-Men. He can regenerate himself from a drop of water.
It's like Iceman from the X-Men and Sandman from Spider-Man.
Yes. Yes. So he's like one of these elemental super mutants, right? He can create ice and snow and shoot them as a projectile from his body. There's a scene where we see him take over a human body and pilot it and use his voice to talk through that human's voice, which is fucking terrifying. Is Jack Frost, in the midst of this comedy, actually one of the most horrifying horror monsters that we've ever seen? Super strength. Imagine how many times water touches your body or goes into your body a day. And then imagine Jack Frost.
I'm gonna pause you there.
Okay.
Because here's why that's not the case. Because the people of Snowmanton, which is the town that this takes place in, Snowmanton, are the dumbest and worst townsfolk, police force, retail owners, and just general human beings that, I don't know, history has ever seen.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Does this make it scarier that their brains are clearly not filled and swelled with moisture, so there's a lot more room for Jack Frost to get in there?
I have to tell you.
They all had that little hungover brain. We saw the video.
Well, I have to tell you, in my opinion, Jack Frost is sort of shooting fish in a barrel if he goes to Snowmanton to exact revenge on the cop who caught him. Because,
so you think if Jack Frost goes to Harvard, he's going to get... Okay, to your point, right? It's not just the townfolk are stupid. He does have a pretty pathetic... kind of Deus Ex Machina weapon against him. The hair dryers are pretty fucking weak. When he's just like, oh shit.
Between hair dryers and antifreeze, I gotta say, rough out here.
But so you can do all that shit to him, and then he just comes back. That's the thing. You might melt him. I think he's coming back, dude. It's the regeneration that makes him terrifying.
I agree. I think my other problem, though, that I have with how Jack Frost becomes Jack Frost, because the reason he goes to Snowmanton to take out the townsfolk is because the cop who busted him finally is there. The police officer basically caught him taking a leak on the side of the road.
Yeah, don't you have a piss bottle, dude? That's road trip 101. You got to have a giant piss bottle. Why do you think gas station cups are so huge? I mean, that's just a rook mistake.
The sequence. Okay, when they basically set up the sheriff, the flashback sequence that just happens arbitrarily. The flashback sequence is literally this guy pulled him over because he's like, "Oh, sorry, I was taking a leak." And he's like, "All right, hands up." And that's essentially it. He says a couple of incriminating things, and that's it.
Here's the problem with this, right? Is that, again, we are shown over and over again that this small town cop is literally a doofus. This movie takes the POV
this
of
guy is a
the
doofy.
ginger
He's a
FBI guy who's
doofy.
just like, why don't you guys go to a fucking pig wrestling contest and get out of my way, right? Like, he has such fucking disgust for these people that you can tell the writers do as well. Like, they do not appreciate the people of Snowmanton. All Jack Frost had to do, right? Because we know he's a horrifyingly brutal serial killer. The movie seems to tell us that there is a kind of very rapey undertone to what he's doing, right? He even eventually puts his icicle into the sheriff's belly. Like, there's a scene where he grabs the sheriff at the end and he gets a little, like, icicle hard-on that stabs the guy. And I was like, that ain't the belly button. Where is that coming from? He's just like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So we know that he's horrifying. He's a cannibal. He puts the fucking bodies in the pies. He wants to make other forced cannibals. It does feel like they're telling us Jack Frost is also a simpleton, because all he had to do was just do some folksy, hey, how you doing there? My answer was a little off. I was checking it. That's all. And the other cop would have been like, oh, boy, I hate when that happens on a Tuesday. Am I right? And they would have shared a yuck. Yeah. He would have been on his way, but instead, the cop's like,
merry way, but instead,
hey, man, what's going on? He's like, you're going to regret this one. Yeah.
You're going to regret this one, copper. I'm going to come and get you one way or another. And I'm like, all right, well, obviously you're the guy, so thank you for that. And
so they skip the part of all the true crime documentaries where they say, yeah, the serial killer was just a quiet, nice guy. He could have lived next door to any of us. Jack Frost is like, no, everyone's going to know immediately what my passion is.
Rather than a four-part Netflix series, this is a 2-second podcast where someone goes, "Yeah, it was him."
Yeah, they just find the first body and they're like, "Hey, has anyone questioned that Jack Frost guy? He sucks." Right? He was in Cracker Barrel this morning just causing a ruckus. I think
creeping the shit out of everyone.
We should question him. Yeah, we should go look in his fucking... Oh, wait, he lives in a fucking shed in the woods? We got to question this guy. Because they say at the start, though, he jumps state to state. He'd get a couple of it. I loved because they use the phrase, he's like, any group that needed some human pruning. And I was like, oh, that's a good line.
Ooh, human pruning. I was like, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so Jack Frost is not the wisest guy. But let's go through some of the snowman kills, because there are... So I love when he kills his first, real kill that we see. I will say, the horrifying old man in the rocking chair, like an old man just walked out to the middle of his yard in a chair, and he just froze his ass to death and snapped his neck back. Dude. That was brutal. Like, what a cool little prop that was.
That was good.
But the first actual kill we see is some kid just fucking is like, I'm going to fuck your snowman.
God, the bully?
And he knocks the head off of the snowman. So Jack Frost knocks his sled off, which then slides on ice and decapitates a fucking, like, how old do you think that kid is? 14?
13-year-old?
I was going to say he looked a little older, but he's still excited to go sledding.
Yeah.
Which gives him a childlike thing. We fucking start this movie with our first live action kill. They're like, let's go ahead and hang a preteen on the board. And you're like,
let's hang a preteen on the board.
Jesus.
Okay. So the minute this happens in the movie, because again, like, it's a pretty telegraphed patch. Like, okay, it's probably, like, someone's going to get cut. And you're like, holy shit, his head got cut off. It's like,
when that preteen head rolled across the snow, I was like, what?
And I was like, whoa. But the other question I had was, who are these parents that are sharpening the
That's sled 101.
sleds?
That's just how you sled.
Holy shit. No. Like,
maybe not that sharp, but it's got to be at least greased.
Greased is different than sharp, my friend. Like, that is...
No, that's a fair point. Those are two completely different skill sets.
Those sleds are... Those sleds are mean streets.
Sometimes you grease a hog, you don't sharpen a hog. You know what I mean? That doesn't make a lot of sense. I immediately revoke. You win. I fail.
Or you have or you have like Christmas Vacation saucer that you've
Yeah, that's true. There should be more greasing of the sled than the sharpening.
Yeah,
but because he's like, hey, we're here to sled on ice, and I was like, is that how sledding works?
That seems like a bad idea.
I mean, they're from Snowmanton. They must be
They're from Snowmanton. They must know something that I don't.
Well, I just love that because, there's literally a dead preteen in this small fucking sleepy village. And the next scene is just a bunch of people, like, standing around like, oh, that's wacky. And the dad's like,
that's too
your
bad.
fucking son's the only psycho here. Not an escaped psycho who killed an old man and my boy. And the cop just, his fucking defense to the whole town is like, I have to believe my boy. And you're like, that's not going to hold up in court.
That's not going to hold up.
There is one of the things they do in this. I love this scene too. They have this running riff where so they're arguing, and he goes, "Just think about it. It couldn't have been my boy. Your boy's at least 2 feet taller." And someone in the peanut gallery goes, "Not anymore." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, what a great little."
Okay, there are some amazing ADR throws in this movie where you're like, okay, I get
Not
you.
anymore. I was like, some guy in the background was just like, this is too good. You get a joke set up like this once every 3 years. I'm not going to miss it. His wife's in the background like, Howard, shut the fuck up. He's just looking around like high five, and everyone's like, dude, chill. What are you doing? Dude, there's a dead kid right over there.
He's the only person who's like, what? This town sucks. Everybody knows it. I'm the only one who's willing to admit it.
Yeah.
These guys are arguing about something ridiculous.
Yeah, that kid threatened to steal my wallet chain last week if I didn't let him sled down my driveway. Fuck that kid. No.
Yeah, fuck that kid.
Is
everyone
great.
really broken up with it?
But think about some of these kills, right? We've got the cramming the. I thought it was actually like a pretty good horse scene when the dad, who's now distraught and may beat up his only remaining daughter for essentially accusing her of whoring. He goes out in the yard and he's like, come on, you freak. And he walks right past the snowman, right? And then we see the snowman hand come. He grabs an axe. And I love horror movies that use a kill weapon the way we don't intend. He just jams that thing straight down the dad's throat. Again, Jack Frost has a very phallic, penetrating kind of vibe. That's his.
A lot of that going on.
Again, there aren't a lot of sexual or serial killers who don't have some kind of weird sexual component to their mythology.
The blood budget on the movie must have been quite low, because I think for this movie, and because there's snow and that kind of thing.
See, blood and snow is one of the best. Well, here's the problem.
Yeah.
So when this movie was filmed, apparently temperatures were hitting as high as 70 degrees when they filmed this. So almost all the snow is just styrofoam and cotton puffs. Well, there are scenes when they cut to the gutters that have icicles, and they're blowing one solid piece of felt. Yeah. And you're like, who cares? But I guess that's why it probably has less blood, because then you're fucking up your actual set dressings that you need, not snow.
There's this thing about when movies are shot on location, and they're supposed to be doing winter for summer, or summer for winter. It happened when the sheriff is just going through the town, and he stops at that one little corner that's clearly just art departmented to look like it's the winter.
Yeah, so me and you used to work on Winter Wipeout, literally out in the desert during the summer. In one of our shitty jobs, which we had to take, essentially it was like 5 football fields and just nail like fake cottony snow so it looked like mounds of snow. That shit sucks.
So we used to cut down this batting that essentially like we would roll it. And we all thought it was going to be super easy because these things are literally 5 football fields. Like, oh, it's great. We'll just roll it. We'll cut it. It'll be perfect. No. Because it's so like the material is so light, not only did we have to wear booties the whole time walking across it, but also if we walked across it, we started doing we at first it was we ruined it, we have to do another batting, like because we'd like step into it and the mud would seep through.
Yeah.
What we started doing to not replace it every time this happened was we would just take white spray paint and spray paint out the mud.
I'll tell you this, knowing that they went through that gives me more love of this
Much
film.
Respect for art department.
Like you have to like just give them a lot. Yeah. There were some miserable dudes chain smoking Camel Lights the whole time this movie is getting. There's like fucking snow. Why couldn't it be a snowman? Yeah, Sandman.
Fucking sucks, dude.
All right. Another kill I thought was super fucking rad. I love at the end when he comes back because they do that thing where they corner him in the back and they all hit him with the mini fucking hair dryers. Like everyone in town got their hair dryer and hit him. He's like, ah. They put him in the furnace. They think that'll kill him. He comes back from the furnace. When he gets the fucking shitty FBI guy and the little dipshit scientist, when the ice fangs come out and they have that new head for Jack Frost that opens really wide, that has like the bright blue chemical light in it, hitting the fangs and he eats them. That was legitimately awesome. Like as far as snowman kills go, this movie did some amazing ones. The most famous, of course, being Shannon Elizabeth in the bathtub. Because we see her boyfriend get got, because they're doing this like, let's fuck. And there's this great gag where they're taking off their like 18 layers of jackets and they're in like long johns and shit, which are the least sexy outfit a person can wear is long johns. Right, and so she's going to get ready. He shoots a, like Terminator 2 style, spikes this kid to the door, and then puts an icicle through his head, and then can pull it back and reabsorb it into his body, which was cool. I thought they were going to do that Jack Frost was going to be in the little champagne they were drinking. We were going to get like an internal explosion, which we didn't get, but would have been rad. The most famous scene in this movie is Shannon Elizabeth. She's in her little lacy underwear. She gets in the bathtub. We see a puddle. Jack Frost is in the bathtub, right? So she says, ew, stop. Don't do that. It's cold. Don't add ice water. Next thing you know, she essentially is like covered in this like white foamy shit. Yeah. He pulls her up out of it. Shannon Elizabeth is locked, intertwined with the body of Jack Frost. And he essentially humps her up against the wall to death. Right? Yes. This young girl, who we don't know how old she's supposed to be. He humps this girl to death, drops her on the floor, and then says the line, I guess Christmas came early. And I was like, oh my God. But because of who Shannon Elizabeth is, this has become the most famous. And I think you would argue this is the most interesting kill in the movie.
So originally not intended to be sexual in any way.
Yeah.
Originally, this whole sequence was actually him literally just slamming her head against the porcelain, and then that was it. And they were in the editing suite, and apparently the editor looked over at Michael Cooney and was like, you know what this looks like, right? Like, no matter how you cut it, this looks like this. And he was like, And rather than just say, you know what, and this is, again, you got to give credit where credit's due. Rather than just saying, he's making, you're going to make lemons with your lemonade. You're going to make lemonade with your lemons. It's like, rather than saying, fuck, we're going to have to cut it out. Like, it's just, he's like, hang on. ADR loops. I guess Christmas came early this year. Rewrote the whole scene. That's filmmaking, my friends. That's how you make it. That's how it's done.
The editor was like, this looks kind of like a sexual assault. That's not good. And the director goes, or maybe we amped that shit up. And it's like, I mean, I guess they're right. It's the most famous scene in the movie.
I guess because also, like, the carrot nose, like, poked Shannon Elizabeth's eye at one point, and it was like, so that's why they took the nose off. And I was like, oh, I thought, and when I watched, I was like, because I read about this afterwards, I was like, I thought that was intentional, and the carrot like goes into position, and that was the whole thing.
He's using his carrot for other things.
I mean, again, like,
at least we didn't get a moment where like he picks the carrot up and sniffs it or licks it, right? I guess he can't sniff it because he doesn't have a carrot nose.
Here's the thing: we're not doing Thanksgilling. Yeah, we're not doing Thanksgilling, which also has a great scene like this. But ultimately, you're solving problems in the edit and in post, and that's
that's what filmmaking is, problem solving.
A movie gets made 3 times, folks. Everyone knows this.
Worrying, and it still works. That's the magic of films. You never know. You combine things and
you're making a movie. You're making a movie 3 times. You're writing it, you're shooting it, and then you're editing it.
That's right.
There you go.
Let's talk about another wild ass thing from this fucking moment. The whole time he is humping this teenage girl to death, we are essentially playing the music from a SpongeBob SquarePants episode. So the movie has like 3 things. There's like a heavy metal riff. There's SpongeBob music during some of the kills, and then other gags where people are dying and being attacked by a new genetic hybrid that's going to alter all of mankind. At one point, the scientist says, the soul is real. It's a chemical compound, and I have proved it with this. You're like, Jesus Christ, that's kind of like world-shattering.
Yeah, there we go.
In the midst of him, like, terrorizing these things, there's like this almost like Elvis surf rock comedy music that plays.
Well, every time there's a kill going on, it's also this weird, like, creepy, creepy Christmas music. Like, it's like off-key Christmas music.
Yeah.
And it's strange because I know the tone it's trying to set, but because of, like, the other music cues in this movie, you're just like, not working for me here. Like,
yeah, the SpongeBob Killorama, right? Because they talk, like Jordan Peele, I think, said this. The only difference between comedy and horror is the music. Yeah. And it's like, I think they got the ratio incorrect in this one a little bit. But I do think this is a movie that wants to be funny first. It's not, horror is the aesthetic that helps it sell itself. I don't think it's trying to be scary.
This is actually my biggest problem with the movie.
You hated this movie.
I did not like this movie at all. And we've watched a lot of movies like this together, to the point where it doesn't really I'm desensitized a lot of the time. And after I finished it, I legitimately spent the rest of the night trying to figure out what about this movie. I was like, why am I so appalled by this? Who gives a shit? Because to me, I don't care. My philosophy when it comes to us watching movies, you guys watching movies, is that look, as long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't fucking care what you do. Live your life, be happy. Who cares? Happiness is
if you're doing what Jack Frost does, I will judge you.
Yeah, if you're doing what Jack Frost does, you're terrible, and I will judge you.
If you're just the shop owner who's trying to make more money by offering 20% crisis discounts, all right, you're not hurting anyone.
Whatever. Yeah, I was trying to figure out why, what the problem was for me, and I think I honed in on it when I woke up this morning to do the show, and I was I was still thinking about this, but I think I've honed in on it. There's no actor in the movie other than who's playing Jack Frost. There's no actor in the movie who seems to understand.
Wonderful performance.
Yeah, Scott MacDonald. Scott MacDonald, I think, is the only actor in the film who understands what movie he's in. Everybody else,
yes, maybe the scientist, because he's always playing it pretty straight. He's like the melodramatic scientist. He's like, "Don't kill my creation."
Yeah.
He's fine. He doesn't get a lot of run, but he's fine.
He's fine. Yeah. I think everybody else, though, is in a different movie and not understanding, hey, guys, have you seen the crafty budget? This is the movie we're in. Relax. There's
a little too much being in on the joke from the townspeople that I didn't love. But see, I revert back to, the dad trying to kill someone in his yard and gets jumped by the snowman. That's a good horror moment. When he goes inside and he's just behind the mom in her chair, and he strangles her with lights and crams the fucking star on her head. I was like, that's a great scene. That's just a good horror movie scene. So to me, I think the thing I give this movie grace on is that this movie knew exactly what it was trying to be. Even if some of the actors didn't, the movie is crystal clear with us from the opening credits exactly what kind of ride this is going to be. They're just giving us a fun snowman murder spree that has no aspirations of saying anything or being high art. So I will forgive it SpongeBob music as a teenage girl is getting assaulted to death, right? That's not great, but it's also just a goofball gag, right? They do cool bits like when here's a horrifying moment. The kid just puts antifreeze in his dad's oatmeal so he won't. So this kid could have been the one dad whose kid died was right. There is a psycho in town, and it is this kid's son, right? And Jack Frost starts melting, and we see the kind of like fleshy remnants of what's inside of the snowman. That's fucking cool. Like, I'm just okay with that. The sheriff rock bottoming Frosty off the top of a building into the back of a truck full of antifreeze. I'm just cool with that. That's what I mean. I think this movie, the gags are so fun. Is this world-class cinema? Never. I would never make that argument. But I think it delivers exactly on what it's promising.
It's doing, I'll give you that. It's doing exactly what it promised. And I think that is a key thing for a movie like this, is like, as long as it's not doing the reach that I think sometimes these movies try to do, especially in this, like, especially when you're in that like dead heat, like 65-minute mark where you're like, oh man, how am I going to keep the people who are definitely getting bored? It's like, stop. You have two choices here. You either lean real hard into what you've already got going, which is exactly what you should be doing, or you make the bad choice of trying to actually justify the previous 60 minutes actions. Don't do that. Like,
well, it's the Shannon Elizabeth thing. Like, do we want this to be a dark, grungy, scored moment of like, the loss of innocence? No. That's the thing. If you take the SpongeBob music out and put in like a traditional horror score, there's a chance this movie crumbles. Because it's not that kind of movie. It's just not. It's a gag film. All right, Alex, to wrap this up, what do you think was the most messed up moment in Jack Frost?
I think the most messed up moment in Jack Frost is, obviously it's the fact that these FBI agents who are taking him to get murdered, no. Honestly, it's probably the bathtub. The bathtub's pretty messed up.
The bathtub is wild, dude. It's scary. It's got that Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street thing where it's like just a serial killer being in a bath with a naked young teenager, right?
I think
there's a horror that is palpable in those moments.
It's like a tie between the bathtub and putting a preteen on the scoreboard. Thing one.
Yeah, just killing a 13-year-old who just, like, he seems like he's a bully, but also he just likes the kind of whimsical frolicking that sledding provides. Yeah. And we're like, we should chop his head off. You're like, that is a fucking strong choice in your snowman puffed up suit comedy.
Hard. We go fast.
Yeah, if I had to pick, and again, if I had to pick the most messed up moment in Jack Frost, I know there's a lot of like snowman gags, and it's about a serial killer who literally puts people in pies, right? This is a brutally horrifying man. I still think the fact that our dipshit sheriff almost fucking died because his son thought it was cold outside and put antifreeze in his father's oatmeal that is then slathered on our snowman monster to melt his face. That face was almost the innards of a truly good, if not simpleton man, right? Like a good small town sheriff. A child almost murders his father. You could take the serial killer snowman out of this film, and there's a chance that this sheriff is just murdered by his son, and his son and mom have to deal with the problem of that.
Maybe that dad was right. Maybe the sheriff's kid really is a psycho.
I mean, I think it's inarguable. Like that kid is 10 years old. He doesn't know not to put antifreeze. This is not a fucking toddler. Yeah. This is not like the show Dinosaurs with the baby.
This town is called Snowmanton. You're telling me this kid doesn't know what antifreeze does? Come on.
A little premeditation? At the end of the movie, was he actually sad when his dad died? When the snowman's arm wraps around his throat at the end? Was that because they were pals? He's like, save me.
Maybe it was like a T2 thing.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. That, I'm telling you, that is a low-key, insane addition. That, and then just the fact that not only was Jack Frost a serial killer, but his grand plan was to put pieces of his victim in mass-produced pies so that normal people are eating dead women everywhere across the continental U.S. That's what I mean. This movie has some really subtle low-key darkness to it that then is just kind of like sugar-coated and SpongeBobbed into a funny journey for us.
Right.
But there is some crazy shit in this movie.
Wait, before we go, I want to point out one more thing because we're talking about the production design. Okay, so I did some quick research. There are two production designers. The lead production designer is a woman named Deborah Raymond. Okay, I'm going to list off the movies that she was doing between 96 and 98. She's got some heaters in here for like the likes of us. So 96, Leprechaun 4 in Space.
Woo! Drill dicks.
97, original Wishmaster.
Oh my God, legend! That alone is a resume.
Then she does Jack Frost. 98, Phantoms. Come on,
fucking Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms, yo.
And she finishes 98 with Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror. Come on.
Damn.
I mean, Deborah Raymond, you're my hero.
Deborah Raymond, beautiful. Well done. Well done. Yeah, I know you didn't love this movie, right?
It's okay.
I'm okay with just a junk food entry, right? Just like
I'm okay with
empty calories fun ride.
Yeah, I'm fine with not liking it.
That's the thing.
It's a good cookie.
Again, to me, the thing is when people are taking themselves so seriously, they can't deliver on what they want. This movie is telling me, just turn it all off. Just melt into your couch. It's been a long, hard day. Just watch this, right? And I don't have to get that saccharine like Michael Keaton trying to win his kid back. We're just going to do gags. We're just going to do gags.
Have you ever eaten like an Oreo or something that you know always generally tastes good, and for some reason it tastes a little off? Like you're like, oh,
because you accidentally bought candy corn Oreos.
Yeah, or something like it's exactly what I'm saying. Like, have you ever had something that tastes different than it normally tastes? You're like, huh? I've always continued to eat Oreos. It's not like I'm going to stop eating Oreos.
Come on, I'm not going to like make a better choice.
Come on, I'm not making a better choice. I'm going to keep eating Oreos. That's life. Like,
as my waistline keeps expanding, I need some variety.
Yeah. I got it. As I continue staying fat, I'm making the choice. I
am trying to myself be shaped like a snowman.
That's me. That's me watching Jack Frost. Like, I'm not going to change my methodology. It tastes a little different. That's all. I didn't like the taste. That's it.
Sometimes not good, right? It's like a fucking sugar spice cranberry Sprite, and you're like, I don't know why this has to be a thing.
Gross.
But all right.
I don't need that.
I don't know. I still have a soft spot for my heart. This is a pretty regular holiday viewing for me. I like it, dude. I like the Killer Snowman. I will say I did not like Jack Frost 2, Attack of the Killer Mutant Snowman as much.
Attack of the Killer Mutant Snowman?
Yeah. It has some long, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style title like that. And if I believe right, he goes to a tropical island. It's been a long time since I've watched it. But it's a fun ride. That's it. A great first entry into a new year, new me.
New Year.
Messed up movies curation, right? This month we are trying to curate movies about our changing bodies, what that means philosophically and emotionally for us. And this is the perfect deep dive we needed to start the year. Truly a movie with a lot to say about the aging body, our bodies as a flesh prison. What if we were freed from that? Right? What if we were all our own little island from Lord of the Flies? No, literally none of that is true, right? Like when Baby Billy said, I pretty much had to step up and raise y'all. I'm your daddy. You ain't my fucking daddy, Jack Frost. You ain't my fucking daddy. It's just a fun ride. That's it. We hope you guys had fun. We hope you'll go to our YouTube channel, Misfit Parade, and subscribe there. We have shorts. We have other stuff we're doing over there. Video versions of the pod. That would be great if you could join us there. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews everywhere. That helps us defeat the algorithm. Let us know that you like the show. That means the world to us. Share with your friends. The best way to share bite-sized content from the show. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, whatever the fuck. We got all that stuff. Come find us, misfitparade.net. We have a newsletter there so you can get all the updates on productions of Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole, our first feature film. You can watch our latest festival short film. Just finished its festival run, Out to the World. Sugar Tits. We have that, so go do that. More than anything, thank you for the time. Please go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon to join our community and help us turn this thing into an unruly beast. We'll see you Friday.
Bye.